Coming up on the Fish Hunt Forever podcast, I'd probably just get sick of winning boats, I suppose. I mean,
my main 1-2 punch starting out anywhere pretty much is a number 7.
What do you think the future looks like for co-anglers out there?
I had a flat bottom 14-foot pram and a 7.5 horse Chrysler. Didn't have a top on it, didn't have a kill switch, but...
This is the Fish Hunt Forever podcast, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. Welcome back to the studio, Dan.
Thanks.
Sweet hat, by the way.
You too. I like yours. I hadn't seen yours till today.
Yeah, brand new. Picked it up at Game Fair at the Eau Claire booth. Talking to Mark over there, and my buddy Jason Markle came with. He got himself some new EXP Pros, which will be coming. They're going to make them.
Congratulations.
Yeah, he's pretty excited about it. So got a sweet new hat as part of it. And it was good to see Mark. Always good to be back at Game Fair. There were some things that happened at Game Fair that I was a little surprised about.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you about them yet, but I will in a few minutes.
What a sweet tease.
That's what we call in the biz a tease right there, ladies and gentlemen. Plus the most in-demand podcast guest coming up this week on the show, Randy Topper. He's been crushing it. Absolutely crushing it lately.
At what?
Fishing.
Okay.
Winning tournaments.
Okay.
He's won 3 boats this year.
Huh. Wonder. Well, I was going to say I want one, but I don't because I have a sweet boat.
Right. For sale, even.
It is for sale. If anyone's looking for a 2026 Lund 1875 Pro Guide at a sweet deal, it's basically brand new, cheaper than brand new price, turnkey, broke in, ready to rock and roll. Get a hold of me. Email me at dan@danamundsen.com. That's AMUNDSON.
Is your email working?
For everybody except you, it appears.
All right. Good.
And if you don't get that, message us at Fish Hunt Forever on Facebook.
There you go.
I think we have a contact page on our website, right?
Sure do.
Okay, do that too. I don't care. We'll just figure out how to get a hold of me and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Send us a message on social media. If you're not following any of our social media channels or platforms, please do that. Fish Hunt Forever and on YouTube as well. And I'll have an 1875 Impact 2026 rigged up, ready to go for sale as well too. I just got to put all the stuff together and get it ready to go. Take a couple pictures and put it out there. But we'll have that coming for you very, very soon. So if you're looking for a new boat, we got a couple of them for you.
Walkthroughs of both those boats are on our YouTube channel. So if you want to see the rigs we're talking about and all the cool features, the lack of wood in these boats, I mean, these things are built to last. This could be the last boat you ever buy, unless you want to buy our next year boats too.
That's right.
We could get into a nice cycle of brand new boats for people here because we'll be getting 2027s. We're not getting rid of these things because we hate them. Yeah. We love them. We just got to make room for the 2027 models.
I got asked about that. I posted about it on Snapchat and someone's like, what the heck, man? You're getting rid of your boats already?
Yep.
Kind of, but yeah, so if you know, like a lot of guides and pros do that. They get a new boat each year and they have a waiting list of people ready to buy their boat as soon as it comes up for sale at the end of the summer. And if you've always wanted to get in on a list like that, let us know because we're in that program. So we'll have some boats for sale.
We could be talking about what you'd want on next year's boat.
Right.
We could maybe, I want to get what I want, but we could maybe talk about some color schemes or some ways we can customize it for you to get you a sweet deal on a new Lund. Or if you don't want to wait for us, just go buy one from Ray's too. That's fine. That's cool with us.
You can see videos of us fishing out of these boats too on the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. I think recently we were up at Lake of the Woods and my Impact caught a bunch of fish. We'll get a Lake of the Woods fishing report with Joe Henry coming up later in the show. We've got another boating safety tip with Towboat US. We also have a bit from Minfish, another Minfish Minute. We will talk, we'll get Minfish's opinion on the walleye stamp. A lot of discussion about what the walleye stamp should be used for, Dan, and we'll get Minfish's position on that later in the show. Also, there is a big EHD kill in Wisconsin. If you don't know what EHD is, we'll explain that for you and talk about where it was and how many deer. Like EHD seems to happen a lot, usually more maybe Western Dakotas.
Enormous heart disease.
Yeah. This one was in Wisconsin and it was quite a few deer. We'll tell you more about that coming up here, and we'll hit some headlines. But first, who are the sponsors this week on the show, Dan?
OnX Hunt. See private land boundaries, offline maps, and more. Take 20% off a new membership with the code SJR20. Lake of the Woods Tourism. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan a Lake of the Woods fishing trip at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. Chef Roberts, level up your menu and fish fries this summer with Chef Roberts breading, or get ready to coat some wild game from this fall in some Chef Roberts. Haybell Heights Campground and Resort. Fish Devil's Lake this summer or this fall. Do a cast and blast at Haybell Heights. Learn more at haybellheights.com. Space Trailers, proudly operated out of Red Wing, Minnesota. Endless possibilities, countless adventures. Learn more at spacetrailers.com. Riverbend Resort, put yourself in the heart of the fish migration at the Rainy River and Lake of the Woods with Riverbend Resort. Prairie Sportsman, you can watch reruns anytime the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel or check your TV guide for air times. And then OnX Fish, find, filter fish, discover new lakes, check wind history, study lake maps, all in one place. Download the OnX Fish app today and visit Grand Rapids.
Yep, 1,100 area lakes, a variety of species from panfish to trophy fish. You can get outdoors into Minnesota's nature in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, with a lot of cozy lodging options in the area. Find more information at visitgrandrapids.com.
I asked, speaking of Grand Rapids, you overheard this phone conversation yesterday with a good buddy of mine who lives not too far from there and has done some fishing. I said, hey, heading up there, what should I do? And he said, well, it's easy. So
perfect.
That's all you need to know.
Well, and also Randy Topper is from Grand Rapids area up there, so he is well informed, and he's won that Grand Rapids fishing tournament,
the old Graha,
4 times.
Think he's got some dots we could borrow.
He's got Pekegama figured out, and then he probably knows a lot about the other 1,000.
I wonder if he has dots on all 1,100 lakes.
Let's ask him.
Okay,
we'll do that here in just a little bit, but first, time for some headlines. Headlines are brought to you by Space Trailers. It is a Red Wing-based company that allows you to haul 1,000 pounds worth of gear with a 600-pound trailer behind your smaller SUV or smaller vehicle with a hitch. If you don't have a big truck, you don't need it for one of these trailers. Plus, you can store it in a small area as well, too. Find out more at spacetrailers.com. Well, there's been a lot of headlines about the bear season in Minnesota this year, Dan.
Not positive ones. Well, at least when it comes to the licensing.
They had a bit of a snafu with the licensing system. They think they got it all figured out now. In fact, they used a timestamp system to go back and figure out who'd been applying for surplus tags when everything locked up on them. And it sounds like they got it all cleared up, hopefully. The season opens up September 1st. They also just remind you, if you see a collared bear, radio collar, or tagged bear, don't shoot it. It's legal to shoot it, but they're trying to get some research. There's 50 radio collared black bears across the state. Especially in bear hunting zones 27, 45, and parts of the no quota zone. Most of them are by the Chippewa National Forest, Camp Ripley, the Brainerd-Baxter area, and Duluth, and all but 2 of them are female. So, and then if you do shoot one, they've implanted some heart monitors.
I saw that. Under
the skin on the bear's left side in the chest. So if you do shoot one, pull that monitor out. So while you're skinning the bear, look for that monitor. They have there's a pile of information stored on that. The DNR just wants it back so they can continue their research. All right, this was also pretty big news, too. Governor Walz signed an executive order to protect the boundary waters from mining. Now, here at, my opinion anyway, we're all for business. We're all for job creation. We're all for America relying on their own resources. But the boundary waters is off limits.
Yeah, it's too precious to put at risk. And, it's kind of funny. I took some heat a few weeks ago because somebody thought we hadn't covered the topic of the boundary waters leases and all the stuff that had been done in Washington, D.C. a month ago or so that repealed some protections. And this has been going on for so long. One administration comes in and strips back protections. Then another administration comes in and puts protections back on. And then it goes to court and this and that. So that's part of the reason we didn't panic when that stuff happened a while ago, because stuff like this it was probably going to come. We kind of had a hunch this was going to happen. Something like this was going to happen.
And we talked about it.
We did. Well, of course we talked about it. We didn't, I guess for this person, didn't go in depth enough for them, which whatever. But we care about the boundary waters, but this has been a battle for a long time. It's going to continue to be a battle for a long time. there'll be lawsuits of this and that. So we need to continue to speak up for it. We've seen what the power our voices have when it comes to public comments and writing to U.S. Fish and our representatives. So there's power in our voice. We saw that with the land tiling setback stuff a couple weeks ago too. But kind of had a hunch this was going to happen. This is good news. I'll give kudos to Governor Walz for this.
Some other good news. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's natural.
Nice. First day doing English.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture's nature. Oh God, dang it!
Still learning.
Take 3. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's Natural Resource Conservation Service Voluntary Public Access and Habitat Incentive Program. It's a mouthful. Recently awarded $2.1 million to the Minnesota DNR's Walk-in Access Program, which is awesome. Now, this increases public access to private lands for wildlife-based recreation. Now, this will fund the Walk-in Access Program in Minnesota for the next 3 years. This is primarily how the Walk-in Access Program in Minnesota, Dan, has been funded since it started in 2010.
Is this more or less than... Is that what you just said?
So
is this a lot? Is that a lot of money for this, or is that less than normal? Or
I didn't dig far enough to see how much we normally get, but it will fund us for the next 3 years. So I have a feeling it's about on par for what we normally get. I think the Department of Agriculture had $52 million to spread out across a number of different conservation programs. So Minnesota's portion was $2.1 million. That's pretty typical, I think, for how it normally gets funded. There's 22,000 acres of private land enrolled across more than 220 walk-in access sites here in Minnesota. So that's primarily in western Minnesota, central and southern Minnesota, where a lot of the grassland is, where a lot of that big habitat is. Now, if you want to use that and hunt on it, it's only a $3 validation. I don't understand why more people don't buy these. Maybe they don't live in those areas. Maybe they don't upland hunt, but you can deer hunt, you can dove hunt, you can do also duck hunt if there's some wetlands on there. There's a lot of different opportunities to utilize this land. Plus, they promote photography and bird watching and all that stuff too, so I guess you can do that. You can get on those lands September 1st through May 31st is when they're open. And as much as I appreciate the public land that we have and the vast amounts that we have here in Minnesota and the opportunity that public land provides, walk-in access type private land, Dan, I think is a big part of our future.
It's sweet. It's a great incentive for landowners who, maybe it's somebody who had family pass away, they inherited this land or whatever it might be. They don't know what to do with it. They don't hunt themselves. They don't want to sell it, right? Because there are some people that don't want to sell land because once land goes public, it never comes back. And I'm not saying that's inherently a bad thing.
And ideally right now it would be used for hunting purposes, but who knows down the road what they might turn it into. It's
in the hands of the government, and who trusts the government these days.
Exactly.
So public land, like WMAs are great, WPAs are great, but this gives the opportunity for landowners to say, no, I want to keep control of this, but I don't know what to do with it, so I'll get a little kickback if I let public hunting. And it's a pretty good win-win for everybody.
It's great, and it's an opportunity for more huntable land, and then you do get to keep your private ownership, and you can actually pull your land out of the walk-in access program. I think all they need is a 30-day notice. Now, ideally, we don't want somebody to do that during the hunting season. But if you're a landowner and you're thinking about this, you get $18 per acre. They want 40-acre chunks or larger of good, suitable habitat. And here's how it works. There's no motorized vehicles allowed on walk-in access. There's no target practice. There's no trapping. There's no dog training, camping, horseback riding, or fires allowed. And then there's recreational use laws that provide extra liability protection for walk-in access acres under a Minnesota state statute. So you're protected as well by putting people out there. So it's not like people can come on and just trash your land.
Well, and that's a great reminder for us hunters that if you do hunt walk-in access land, to take care of it, because if you don't, if you leave your trash, you leave your pop cans or whatever, that landowner might walk around and be like, well, why in the world would I do this again? Why would I let hunters onto my land again? As we see it with private land all the time. If somebody ruts up a cornfield, the farmer says, nope, never letting hunters onto it again. And we're running into this issue with everyone's whining of lack of places to hunt. Well, that's why. So take care of it. We don't want to see that land lost, but it's a great program. And honestly, I even hate talking about it on the radio because I know you think this way too. There's some walk-in pieces that just get overlooked and are great hunting.
Yeah. Yeah, if somebody didn't spend the $3, they're not going to hunt it. And can be some really good habitat. I love walk-in access lands, man. And you got plots in North Dakota, you got Pathland, you've got all these different walk-in access programs around the country with more and more of them coming. And again, it keeps land in the hands of private landowners, yet allowing public use and open to public hunting, which is amazing. Dan, you were up north, and we don't need to get into how fishing was for you, but it's considered we are in what's considered some drought conditions across the state of Minnesota. Did you see that when you were up north?
No, not really. I was on lakes, so big bodies of water, so it wasn't like I was fishing a river or anything where you're going to really see it. Everything seemed fine. The boat ramp was fine where I went. All boat ramps I went to were fine. So fishing was decent for the end of August, middle of August on clear water, north central Minnesota lakes. Didn't hammer out great numbers of walleyes. They're pretty finicky for the amount of fish we found. We didn't catch as many as I'd like, but classic leeches and crawlers. Drop shot and a leech. I don't know why more people aren't throwing a drop shot and a leech. I should probably shut up about it because it's awesome. The biggest thing I saw were fish spooking off slip bobbers. We'd throw a slip bobber right on top of a fish, and that fish would, before the baits were even falling, that fish is scooting out of there. And I think it was calm day, but I think those fish were seeing the slip bobber and getting out of there because they've probably seen it 100 times because that's been the rage. So honestly, sometimes the best advice for what lure or what to throw is something the fish haven't seen. And that's why I went with a drop shot and a leech one day, and it worked.
Well, these dry conditions that we are seeing around the region can lower lake levels, can dry up some of these seasonal wetlands, and they can create something called epizootic hemorrhagic disease, otherwise known as, Dan?
Enormous heart disease.
EHD. I originally saw this story on Fox 9 on Facebook, and then I went on to the Wisconsin DNR to confirm it. But I freaked out at first because Fox 9 said that around 100 whitetails died in Washington County.
I saw the same thing because it was the Twin Cities news station. I was like, oh my gosh, that's right by home.
So we lived in Washington County growing up, and we're like, whoa. Well, this is Washington County, Wisconsin.
Yeah, they didn't do a great job of clarifying that.
I think they knew. This was clickbait.
Let's not
pure clickbait from Fox 9. 100%. Like, Washington County,
they're gonna get all
cities,
Stillwater's gonna freak out, and Woodbury,
Washington County, Minnesota. 80 to 100 deer, they're estimating, died from EHD. And that is a big deal. Like, there's usually small cases of EHD that happen with smaller numbers. Maybe you might get 20 to 30 deer, and obviously it's happened that it's bigger numbers. But this is a pretty big one in Wisconsin. The DNR tested 2. They both tested positive for EHD. They were found near the village of Richfield in the city of West Bend. The DNR collected samples for testing. There was a cluster of dead deer that the land owners around the area had reported. Many of the observations reported healthy-looking dead deer in or near water on their properties. And what happens is dry conditions create an abundance of these midges, or these small flies, these no-see-ums. They bite these deer, they infect them. It happens quick. The deer all of a sudden are they have a fever, basically. They get really hot. They start to salivate excessively. They foam around the mouth and the nose, and then they appear a little bit weak and approachable, and then they search out water. So a lot of times you find these dead deer near water because they either try to get a drink or get into the water to cool down just a little bit. It's a pretty bad deal, but it happens very, very quickly, and there's really not much you can do about it. They do say, however, that the virus does not infect humans, which is good. Even if a person handles infected deer, eats venison from infected deer, or is bitten by infected midges, you're okay according to the Wisconsin DNR.
Well, that's good news. The other thing that threw me off with that is because Washington County had a CWD case. And so I think my original thought when I saw that headline was that they were trying to say that CWD was being transmitted by these midges because I saw Washington County and a deer disease. I'm like, oh, okay, Twin Cities News. You don't know what you're talking about once again. But no, they got the story right and got us to read it and to talk about it. Bad deal for Wisco.
There is one other result of the dry conditions that we're having, and that is a giant jump off the dock at Game Fair, at the dock jump for our dogs. Look at this right here. There's me and Tiny. We're getting ready to do the dock jump. This is on last Saturday.
Look at those Magnum snow decoys.
Yeah. So Tiny did pretty well, but look at... I walked up to it with Jason, and we looked at it, and Jason looks at me and starts laughing. He goes, that's a long ways down.
It is a long ways down.
We watched a handful of dogs try to hit the brakes and just fall off the end of the dock there when they realized how far down it was.
I'll give her a lot of credit for that because we had Lindy, my parents' new dog, that she's a couple months old now, and we were trying to get her to she was doing really good retrieving in the water for her age. So we were doing it kind of from shore, and I'm like, all right, let's see if she'll go off the dock, and she did not like that. And I don't know if it was because she could see bottom or just because she's a little puppy still or what, but she did it a couple times and kind of just fell off. It kind of go like she wanted to go, but just wasn't sure. But
how's she doing in the water?
Oh, she's great.
She's good at it.
Oh,
yeah.
Gosh, she goes right in like it. She's been doing it her whole life. This was really the only. She's been in the water once before this week, and she charged right in on her own and retrieved well, swam well. She swims better than most puppies I've ever seen. It's so fun. It's been fun this whole year to watch the new life figure out Earth, whether it's a puppy or a baby or fawns. I had a cool fawn encounter the other day. Mom and two fawns just went for a walk at the cabin, and Mom and two fawns were 20 yards from me, just walked in front of the road, and the fawns were real skeptical of what I was. It's just really fun to watch critters figure out Earth, and including a puppy figure out the boat and a puppy figure out swimming and retrieving and hunting. And I know we're all anxious for hunting season to get her on some birds.
Before we get to Randy Topper, by the way, two things real quick. I was talking about my buddy Jason Markla. He's the guy behind Beer for Wildlife, Walleye Chop, Rooster Lager, and Brow Brothers in Marshall did a limited run of Walleye Chop. I don't know if he can still get it down there or not. Possibly. And I think, and I honestly, I talked about this. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to talk about it yet or not. Well, there's going to be some Rooster Lager too. So
what's Jason going to do? He's not a sponsor, so he can't pull the plug on us or something. He could just slap you across the wrist.
So I saw a story about some research in outdoor news, Dan.
Okay.
We're going to play this, do a little trivia, a little guesswork, and see if you can figure this out.
6.
There's a banding study that's gone on for 50 years in Minnesota, a bird banding study. They're working to determine right now if it should continue. Can you guess what kind of bird it is?
Well, Wisconsin, you said?
Nope, Minnesota.
Oh, I wasn't listening. I was too busy trying to lower the bed of the music.
I know.
Yeah, so I wasn't really listening. So, okay, so bird banding study.
It's gone on for 50 years. Students at St. Cloud State University have been a part of it.
Oh, gosh. St. Cloud State. So are they drunk while they're doing this? Are they watching a hockey game while they're looking at the results? St. Cloud. Oh, okay. Is it coots?
It's not coots.
No. Okay.
I'll give you 2 more guesses, and then I'll tell you what it is.
Banding. Are they migratory?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that narrows it down. So it's woodcock?
Not woodcock.
I just wanted to say that on the radio.
Down to one guess.
Oh, boy. I got to think about this for a second. St. Cloud.
I'll give you a hint.
Are they traveling out of St. Cloud to go find these?
I'll give you a hint that the research doesn't necessarily take place in St. Cloud. In fact, some of it takes place here in western Minnesota. Probably quite a bit of it, actually. The majority of it in Minnesota probably takes place pretty close to where we are.
Swans. Pelicans.
Pelicans is the answer.
That's what I meant to say, and not swans. Pelicans. I meant to say pelicans.
According to this outdoor news article, pelican colonies at Marsh Lake, Devil's Lake, and Sand Lake are part of this study, and it's been going on for 50 years. Now, there's a couple of things in this study that I didn't realize. These pelicans, they say that the one at Marsh Lake is the biggest is the Marsh Lake in 2006. The Marsh Lake colony was the largest in the Western Hemisphere. I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute.
Gross.
We see pelicans along the Minnesota River Valley here a lot. And I know where that rookery, that colony is on Marsh Lake.
You can smell it.
Yeah. I'm not a giant fan of pelicans. I really don't. They eat a lot of fish. They smell. They're full of that rookery's full of disease because there's so many of them there. I didn't realize it was the largest one in 2006.
I saw a post about that the other day, and yeah, you're exactly right. How many people have you talked to like, oh, I saw pelicans the other day. That's cool. Sweet. Yeah. I can't stand them. They, like people out here and then people who fish like Leech Lake or Lake of the Woods.
Sick of them.
Yeah.
Well, I remember growing up, I lived in Hutchinson when I was a kid. And we lived on a lake, on Campbell Lake in Hutch there as a kid. And I remember like the pelicans would pass through. And as a kid, when we had Canada geese everywhere too, I would just freak out because it'd be like, oh, the Canada geese are here all over our lawn. And then the pelicans would come through like, all right, the pelicans are migrating through. But when you're around them constantly and they're eating all your fish.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think people think they're cool because of Finding Nemo. Like Finding Nemo painted a beautiful picture of pelicans being cool and nice and whatever, but no, they're not.
Did you know that their beak can hold as much as their belly can?
Is that right?
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like we both just described our feelings towards the pelican, but this research has been going on for 50 years, and because of staffing issues and the length of the project, the Federal Migratory Bird Banding Office is requesting a proposal to justify continuing it. So the researchers at St. Cloud State University are looking into that, whether or not they're going to keep doing it at St. Cloud State or if somebody else is going to do it or if they just quit it. And the pelicans, we learned a lot about them. There's 3 main places they're going: Devil's Lake, Sand Lake, and Marsh Lake. There's a lot of them.
Too many of them.
I don't know.
I wonder how much banding data they're actually getting. Well, because they're not getting harvested.
Right, but they're getting photographed. They're getting spotted. I mean, I've taken some photos and actually reported some band numbers.
Okay.
But I think a lot of bird watchers and photographers turn those numbers
Well, I'm just curious how often you can see them. Because if they're swimming, they're not.
They had to be flying.
Because they're leg bands.
Yeah.
Maybe you find the I've band checked a lot of dead pelican carcasses at some dams we like to fish. There's always dead pelicans there and washed up carcasses. So you gotta you walk down and you poke the thing you try to find the feet with the butt of your fishing rod because they're so gross to see if there's a band. Because how cool would that be to put a pelican band on your land? Right. Everyone you hunt with gets to tell a story. But I wonder how much data they're really getting. Hopefully birders are doing it, but I feel like most banding data comes from hunters, comes from harvest.
It does.
So yeah, I wonder what we're really getting out of it. If we're getting something out of it, sure, let's keep it going. But if we're not, I don't know how
much there is to learn.
Exactly.
Randy Topper's been on fire this year. What is he doing to win, and what's he doing to get ready for the big NWT championship? We'll ask him when we come back. But first, we teamed up with Towboat US to bring you another boating safety tip. Before you cast, here's this week's boating safety tip from Towboat US and Minnesota Marine Assist.
Most people don't know, but there's a federal law that states that you're responsible for the damage that your wake creates. So this is why we say safe speeds around shorelines, docks, and other boaters. The reason shorelines is because those waves can wash away valuable bird nests, erode the shoreline. Boats, obviously, because there's people in them, all bets are off if you're anchored in a navigational channel, which is kind of a no-no, according to the U.S. Coast Guard, as well as other boats and docks. So when we're at a dock and there's boats tied up, your wake is going to create potential damage while boats are docked at these marinas or other establishments. So stay safe with those speeds. Keep your boat off plane in those areas.
Stay safe on the water and get a membership to Towboat US. Call 218-434-0005 or visit mntowboat.com. There are lakes across Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and beyond that are loaded with fish, and nobody's talking about them. OnX Fish helps you find them. Search by species, filter for big walleyes, trophy panfish, or eater crappies. OnX Fish. Find new lakes, get there with confidence. Now is the time to start thinking about chasing big walleyes on Devil's Lake. Get on the fish at Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Haybale Heights makes it easy for you to make memories on legendary Devil's Lake with guided fishing and lodging packages. Or bring your own boat and rent one of their cabins on East Bay. Haybale Heights offers a private marina, fish cleaning station, and the opportunity to relax and enjoy your bucket list trip to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. To book your trip, visit haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com. All right, we're back here on the show, and we're going to welcome on somebody that's just been making all the headlines in the fishing world here in Minnesota and beyond lately, the frequent podcast guest, the NWT in Green Bay winner, the Lund Mania winner, the four-time Grand Rapids Walleye Shootout winner, Randy Topper. Welcome to the Fish Hunt Forever show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it, guys. Glad to be on. Glad we can make some time.
Are you, after a while, like, I'd probably just get sick of winning boats, I suppose. I mean,
well, you got to sell the dang things.
Oh my gosh. 3 boats this year, man.
So just to clear up one thing, the Pelican Walleye Shootout actually isn't a boat.
Okay.
So I've got that a lot lately, and it's actually what gets a little confused there is the boat is a raffle. So it's just been 2 boats, which is still
pretty good. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
I only
awesome,
won
man.
2 boats this year.
Yeah.
Way to stay humble.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I've had that conversation a few times. It's like everything's so busy with me. I run a business and then traveling and 7-year-old, 11-year-old. It's wild. So I was just talking about the boats and trying to get them posted and things like that. And I was saying the same thing. And it's a great problem to have, and I absolutely love it. And I'm very thankful and everything, but it still is another thing to take care of. So it is great, but it's as soon as I get some time to breathe here, I can't wait to chat with some people about moving them.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, and I don't want to knock winning a boat, especially when you're winning, like some of these tournaments have, $100,000 boats, some big prizes. I don't ever want to knock that, but if you're a Lund guy, and, we work with Lund and Ray Sport Marine as well, and I know you do too, when you work with a boat brand and then you win a boat from a different company, it's like,
and the taxes. The taxes.
You got to pay taxes.
And you don't get the cash to pay the taxes with when you get a boat.
Yeah, like I say, it's an awesome problem to have, but it still is a problem. It still is an issue that you have to address to try to get figured out. And so much overhead in these things, and pretty soon you're like, okay, it's been awesome, but at the same time, could use a little revenue here, keep things moving.
Right. It's tough, man, especially because if you can sell it and make some money, that works in everybody's favor at that point. But I did radio in Fargo for a long time, and I'll never forget, we did a huge giveaway with a hot tub and then a whole hot tub package. I don't remember everything that was involved, but it was a sizable amount, not quite, a $100,000 boat or anything like that, but it was a, $20,000, $30,000 prize package, whatever it was. Well, you're paying 33% tax, whatever the tax rate is on it. You're paying 30%. So this winner won this big package, and is like, oh, so you're telling me I got to come up with $10,000 to receive my $30,000 prize? Like, this doesn't seem right. Like, that's terrible. And there was, thankfully we were out of it, but I think there were some lawsuits and different things involved, and it was kind of gross, to be honest with you. It's kind of a headache sometimes giving away big prizes or winning them.
Yeah, like I said, tough. You won't hear me complaining about it too much. I mean, I absolutely love it, and the ride I've been on is,
for sure.
And I'm super grateful. A lot of these things, the reason why they are happening is because of great sponsors like that. So I hate to say too much. That is such a big problem, because it is, but it isn't. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing feeling, and like I said, it's still great. I just wish it was easier. The market isn't amazing. So
It's unbelievable to win a prize like that. You're very fortunate, of course. It's just there are some things that people don't realize. People that haven't won a prize that big don't realize that there is some paperwork and some taxes involved in it. But it's an incredible accomplishment, and what you've done this year is unbelievable. And I want to start with the Grand Rapids tournament, the Grand Rapids Walleye Shootout, the Graha. It's a one-day walleye tournament held each year on Pekegama with a top prize of $18,000 and a Lund boat being the top raffle prize. It still gets called that Graha, even though it technically isn't these days. But congratulations on the win on that. That's the fourth time you've won that tournament and been a part of the winning team?
Yes, yeah, very amazing. There was a big part of me all year thinking about the Graha, and it's like kept just daydreaming of how are we gonna. And watching more anglers come in that are just unbelievable. And it's like, this thing is so loaded now. I mean, Brock and I have talking to him, it's like, I think maybe we've had our run, and how are we going to stand out, and how are we going to figure out anything else that these guys can't figure out? So, I mean, I had a lot of time into thinking that, well, just go out and do our best and hopefully to find something better. And then it just kind of clicked, and, I guess, it was the morning before, I woke my son up before we took off, and, he's just like, you're going to win this. I know it. And that was the very first moment I actually believed that we could do it again. And we were on a good bite and, had a few little tweaks that I thought maybe were different than other people, but that was the first time where I actually got full confidence and really went out thinking we could do it. Otherwise, it was just like, man, 3 times is absolute. 1 time is insane. 2 is crazy. 3 is nuts. Is there any way we could do this again? And at the end of the day, when we came out on top, it was just amazing and tough to believe. Still tough to believe. I really haven't had a ton of time to soak it in. It's been super busy, and I'm just kind of excited for the moment I can, sit down and take a breath and be like, yeah, this stuff really just happened.
There's a lot of good anglers in that tournament, but you probably have a little bit of an advantage being from that area. You've been fishing that lake for a long time, I bet.
It's it runs in my blood. I've lived there. My parents have been there for 47 years. I grew up there, and I took 100% complete advantage of living on the lake. A lot of people make fun of me, friends and family, because I never did get my driver's license till I was almost 17 because I didn't care to go anywhere. I had a flat bottom 14-foot pram and a 7.5 horse Chrysler. Didn't have a top on it, didn't have a kill switch, but I'd travel to make money, and I just stayed on the water. I could care less about driving anywhere.
That's amazing. What a great story. That's pretty cool. So picture yourself in that boat. I don't know how many years ago that might have been. Did you ever envision yourself being a 4-time winner of a major tournament on that lake?
No, I was getting, when I first started fishing walleyes, I mean, I fished bass a lot when I was a young kid. I just really didn't have the stuff to get out. I didn't really go out on that. I was kind of limited, from the time I was probably 8, 9 years old, and I was rowing over to the weed edges and the bays and stuff. And then when I got my motor, I was kind of, my parents kind of drew a line. The bay is my place. I don't go outside the bay. So I didn't really even think about tournament fishing until I was 15. And then I fished my first tournament on Swan Lake, which is just east of Grand Rapids, a little ways. And that's when the addiction really came. Buddy and I didn't have my driver's license yet. He brought us in there, and we landed his dad's boat and took second in that tournament. And that's when that deal became, kind of a reality that I wanted to fish tournaments. But other than that, I just, every waking moment I was on Pekegama chasing down walleyes from, as soon as I was probably 14 when I first started fishing walleyes heavily on there. And then in high school, I had a landscaping lawn mowing business with my buddy. So the grass is way too wet to mow until at least 11. So we fished 11 every morning.
Well, we're coming up to Grand Rapids here in a couple of weeks. We're pretty excited. I've never fished Pekegama, actually, and I know there's 1,100 lakes in the area. Do you feel like that area around Grand Rapids, I mean, obviously there's some pretty big name lakes in that area, but do you think like the Grand Rapids area in general kind of flies under the radar just a little bit?
Yeah, I think, I mean, you're really close to a lot of Great Lakes. I know Pekegama flew under the radar for ages. I mean, when I was young, I was out there. I mean, I wouldn't see anybody. In the winter, especially, nobody fished. Well, I mean, I could have any tip, any hump to myself. It just seemed like more of a sport lake. Everybody I would tell, yeah, no, I caught my limit of walleyes yesterday. Where were you, Pekegama? No, you weren't. You can't catch walleyes on Pekegama during the day. It's only, you can get them at night, but there's too many skiers and boaters and things going on. And it really, I would say it's only been, I don't know, 10 years before that lake really gained traction as one of the premier walleye lakes to visit. And it still is tough. It's a love-hate relationship. I can tell you that. If you haven't been out there, you got about a 50-50 shot, or you're going to be like, I don't know what the hype's about. Or you're going to be like, this is the craziest thing I've ever experienced. These fish are stronger than anything in this part of the area, as far as fight goes, just the way they react. It's a different kind of lake because it's got smelt. That's a really cool aspect. We don't really have that anywhere else besides Pekegama until you get to like Superior, So, yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, Grand Rapids, as far as like being, that's where we go fishing. I don't know if most of the resorts on the more popular lakes are more the destinations for walleyes, it seemed like, for the longest time, like your Bowstrings and Winnies and all that stuff's really close, Jesse, Sand, they're great lakes. There's they're just fish factories too. They just keep pumping them out.
Well, we're pretty excited about it. We haven't decided yet if we're going to bring one boat up and fish together, or if we're going to bring two boats up and split up, since there's so many lakes. Lakes up there.
Yeah, there's some stuff real close here too. Even trout just east of town. I mean, it's basically Grand Rapids. It's only a couple miles out of Grand Rapids, and that reminds me a little bit of Pekeg. It's got giant smallies and a lot of big walleyes, and it's deep. It's deep and got great structure, got great weeds. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you can bring as many boats as you want. You aren't going to touch all the water in probably a lifetime. So
right.
There's tons of it here, and it's a playground, no doubt. Everything has its own, there's just tons of stuff to do, really. And I catch myself getting so wrapped up in the stuff I'm doing. My 11-year-old boy, and he's taken to it, and I can tell you every year about this time, after the grind of tournaments and the grind of running the business and all that stuff, it's like, man, I forgot to do this and this. I mean, we got this awesome bass fishing lake here, and we forgot to get the crappies out here, and all of a sudden, you forget that you live in God's country, and you're traveling around all these places and looking forward to the next tournament and this and that, and before you know it, you blink, summer's gone, and
it goes so fast.
Yeah, there's a million
so fast.
things that look really good. Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned, bass, crappies, or panfish, of course, walleyes. I know there's places to catch muskies, and I'm not asking you to reveal hot spots or name lakes necessarily, but I'm kind of excited. I'm hoping we can find some lake trout while we're up there too.
Yeah, Pekeg, I can tell you, I mean, all the years I've guided out there, and I've never really targeted them hardcore just because I haven't had the time, but I got buddies who have, and they'll do a stocking campaign where all of a sudden, one of my buddies, will be kind of crazy into it, and you get like 2-3 a day. I've caught probably in my life out there, I think I've only, between guide clients and myself, probably 5. But again, I know buddies of mine that'll target them. They're 2 or 3 a day sometimes, but yeah, there's that. And there's some closer lakes too, where I don't know, how much I'll talk about those. Lake
Right.
trout people get a little bit. I might have them at my door.
Right.
Trying to
Yeah.
if I talk too much about the trout situation. But,
Well, like that's why I said you don't have to name the lakes, but I know you have to go up, kind of into that part of the state. You start talking about the northeastern part of the state, and that's where you start getting into more lake trout country up there. And Dan and I spent a lot of time in Canada chasing lake trout around, and we've joked that if Minnesota had more lake trout lakes, it might be more popular than walleye. Maybe not the eating part of it, but the fishing part of it. They might be more popular than walleyes around here because they're so much fun.
They're awesome. Yeah, that as far as winter fishing goes, that is, if I'm gonna gear up for something, I'm going lake trout fishing, and I don't do it a ton around here, but I head for Canada for it, and I've done it a little around here. It's just tough once you go get spoiled and up in the North Country. It's tough to go back, and there isn't I don't know of a crazier fish to battle than a lake trout, and especially through the ice. I mean, it's great in the summer, but through the ice is something pretty special. I mean, I tell everybody, if you hook something 27 inches, you're gonna, if you don't have like a 3,500 reel or something, there's gonna be a chance you might get spooled because they just don't have any give up. Yeah, I get excited for that now. Right?
We've totally gotten
salmon.
We've gotten spoiled. I mean, I've spent the last 10 years up at Tazen Lake in northern Saskatchewan chasing lake trout around, and it's funny, once you do that, it's like, gee, I can come back to Minnesota and catch one or two, 25 inchers, which is still fun. And if I have the opportunity, I'm gonna do it, especially through the ice. But I mean, Canada's cheating for so many fish species. It's hard to compare the two, but we have a lot of opportunities, and that's one thing I wanted to mention about Grand Rapids is you have these opportunities, even some lake trout opportunities there, but all these other species plus 1,100 area lakes, a lot of different lodging options from resorts to hotels, and it's in the heart of lake country. You can find out more about Grand Rapids at visitgrandrapids.com. Randy Toppers is our guest. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll come back and talk tournaments, what he's done to win these tournaments, and what he maybe we'll see if we can get some secrets out of him for the NWT Championship when we come back. Sick of eating tag soup? It's time to own your odds this fall with OnX Hunt, the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. Now you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership information, waypoints, optimal win for each stand, tracks, and much more. All at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt and use code SJR20 at checkout to receive 20% off your membership. That's code SJR20. We're back with Randy Topper. The guy's been winning everything, it seems like lately. Been doing very well. Thanks for coming on the show. And Randy, obviously, it's fun to win, but people will talk about how tournaments, getting fishing tournaments, fishing professionally, it can ruin some of the fun of fishing. Sure helps when you're winning, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's nothing not fun about winning. that is for sure. There's no way that could ever get old. It's been a great, crazy ride. But yeah, you're right. We touched on it a little bit a while ago. You lose some focus on a lot of the stuff that you used to do for fun. Now it's like I have an agenda almost every time I get in that boat now, and it's almost subconscious. I'd like to just go out for fun, but the second I step up on the bow of that boat and start fishing, it's how can I dissect this a little bit better for the next tournament? If I'm up at Kegama, I'm trying to have fun and maybe go swimming or something. I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I've ever checked that little corner over there. It just never leaves my mind ever. So yeah, there is that. It gets embedded in you, and it's almost like I guess for me anyways, it's almost like a disease. Everything that I do is geared towards figuring out the next way to catch them better than the rest of these guys who are just absolutely unbelievable now. The field of anglers now is so beyond good. It's just, how do you figure out a way to come out on top of that? And it seems it seems more impossible every day. That's why this last month and a half has been so crazy to me. It just, every time I look around a rules meeting or know I'm going somewhere where there's so much history of great anglers and guides and, you know, not only the local people, but the, you know, the people that have just kicked butt at these places, it's so hard to not go into them a little bit intimidated and just, and I don't know, you know, that's the way I go into them. I mean, there is a turning point I have that at some point, I don't know, maybe it's like when fighters train or something for a fight, you know, they're probably thinking the same thing. And then once you start practicing and training and getting ready, there is a point in my mind that, you know, and sometimes it's the day before, sometimes it's 3 days before, where it's like, okay, I don't care who's here. I don't care what guide, local person. I'm here to win this and I'm going for it. But leading up to it, it's always scary, man. You know, there's way more times you get your butt kicked in this world, in the walleye world, than you do winning. So it feels good to be on a little heater here, and I'm praying it keeps going for the championship.
There's some amazing anglers out there right now, and you look at the NWT and the names that are in there, and particularly I won't even say at the top, because you can run the list of anglers from top to bottom, and they're all good. Talk about how many years you've been doing this and what changes you've seen. I mean, obviously forward-facing sonar is a pretty easy answer for that question, but talk about that or some of the other changes you've seen over the years.
Yeah, I've been fishing tournaments. I don't know. I guess I'm just going to age myself here, but I got close to 30 years from the very first tournament that I've ever fished. So I've seen a lot of changes. You know, I've seen it. I remember when high def sonar Lowrance came out, you know, and it was like, holy cow, is there going to be any fish left? And then I seen, you know, then down imaging inside came out, or actually somewhere in there mapping came out too. I mean, that was the craziest change. In my opinion, mapping was by far, I mean, the relevance right now is forward facing sonar, but to me, mapping is by far the biggest technological advancement that we've seen. But mapping and then side imaging and yeah, technology obviously is the craziest thing. And then also the boats. I mean, it's crazy now. If you don't have a 22-foot boat and a 400-horse motor, you're so far left in the dust nowadays on these big circuits, you know. I mean, and you look back, I don't know, 30 years ago, there are these guys, these warriors doing it in just 18-foot boats. It's like, I go to there now and it's like, how did they do this back in the day? You know, GPS is another one. While I'm thinking about it, is I'm horrible with directions. I'm probably, I mean, think of the worst person you know with directions and then multiply that by 10. If I didn't have GPS, I think about like some of the old schoolers, you know, traveling to Erie and Green Bay that are from, you know, Grand Rapids area. Like, you know, I think a lot, you know, Glorians are kind of some of my heroes, but how did I even figure out how to get there? I mean, you got an atlas out. It just doesn't seem possible anymore nowadays to pull an atlas out and be like, okay, I'm going to get here and then I'm going to go 60 miles across this lake and then figure out how to get back to that landing. To me, it seems like it's just impossible anymore. And that is some of the craziest stuff.
The GPS thing, and this is a story we've told on this show a couple of times, but Joe Henry likes to share this story from Lake of the Woods back in the day when it was the ice fishing industry was just getting started. It might even been before the ice fishing industry really kicked in, but they had people out on the ice, and they had a team of horses bringing people out there. And it was a blinding snowstorm. And this is pre-GPS, pre-cell phones, and they didn't know where they were. Imagine being out on Big Traverse in a blinding snowstorm and get turned around. You don't know you can't see shore. You don't know what direction you're going. And they whispered to the horses, take us home. And those horses knew exactly where to go, which to me is kind of mind-boggling. But mapping and side imaging, I mean, have made such a big difference in the technology world. And when you talk about the boats and everything, Dan, Randy, you probably know the answer to this, but we were did some research on some old tournaments, and I'm trying to remember what tournament it was.
It was an old FLW on Leech Lake.
And but I mean, the one I'm talking about is where they all had the same boat. They all had the exact same. They had to run the same exact setup.
I thought we were talking a different story. Well, the Bassmaster used to do that. I think
Maybe
the Classic used to be that way back when.
Yeah, I bet that's what it was for sure. But yeah, I know the story you're talking about, Randy. It's funny when people complain about forward-facing sonar and everybody's just staring at their screen the whole time. We pulled up an FLW from 06, maybe.
I think that sounds right, yeah.
And it was a guy watching 2D up in the bow of his boat, just staring at the screen, jigging on 2D the whole time.
All these guys that say, I don't like watching the live stream when I'm just looking at the guy's back. Well,
it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah. It has. I think we live in a world where we just have to be arguing with each other, and that's just the way it is, and it's not any fun. I mean, it gets old, and it's just like, that's just what it seems like to me. All the things and all the advancements, it's always going to be there, and it's coming, and it's here, and it's always been there. It's just now we don't want to just like simply disagree a little bit. We as a people want to argue until the death about everything. It's like, man, just meet me on some common ground here. We don't have to be, just cut and dry on everything. There is some middle ground.
Well, you're exactly right, too. And it's not even a right versus wrong thing. You could post a tip video on, well, I like to use this knot and here's why. And somebody's going to argue with you. Well, you got to use an idiot polymer knot. Yeah. Well, no, this is how I do it. You don't have to do it this way, but here's why I do it this way. And here's why. It doesn't mean you have, there's so many different ways to get the same result, but people feel like that you have to do it your way or you are just an idiot, and it's so polarizing.
It's hard, and it's the way social media works. And I remember arguing. I'm a guy that had a TV show, and I've done radio forever. So when digital came around, it was like, not everybody needs to have a radio show. Not everybody should have a TV. Like, not everybody should be out there telling people to do things.
The running joke of you need a license to buy podcasting equipment.
Yeah.
Remember that for a while.
And I'm all for the right for people to do whatever they want, for sure, 100%. That's the beauty of America. But at the same time, it's like some people push things that are completely wrong, but they say it in the right way, and all of a sudden they get momentum and they get some people behind them, and they start pushing the wrong thing for the wrong reasons, and it becomes a problem. And that's when you have everybody that has a voice. And again, I'm all for everybody being able to have a voice, no question about it. But sometimes that causes the headaches and the situations that we're in today right now. Just everybody just likes to argue with each other, and the bottom line is we're for what's best for the fishery and the sustainability of fishing and the preservation of the tradition of the outdoors and things like that. So at some point, it's okay to argue with each other. If somebody has the wrong, somebody is actually putting the wrong message out there. But when everybody has an opinion on something, everybody has the wrong message. So it's hard to filter out who's right and who's wrong, and it gets to be kind of a jumbled mess at times.
Yeah, it just seems a little uglier arguments nowadays too. It's tough to just see people walk away and be like, okay, that sounds good. That's your opinion. Let's go fishing anyways, and we'll argue a little bit by the campfire later. No, there is no stopping, and there's no give on my side, and there's no give on your side. So it just got uglier and uglier, and it just seems like it's the past, I don't know, 5-10 years. It just seems like it's, filtered over into our little fishing and outdoor.
Yeah, it started with politics, unfortunately. Not that I want to get into politics, but I had a discussion.
Exactly. I don't know how far this rabbit hole is going to go down here. But.
We don't want to. I don't want to. But I will say this: I had a discussion with somebody about politics, and I'm not going to go into details, and I'm not going to say.
No, you should, because I think I know the story you're about to tell, and I think you should tell every single detail.
I'm definitely not telling every single detail.
You should. Your mom would love it.
Oh my gosh, this was insane. This was okay. I'll tell some.
No, don't tell all the details, please.
Well,
Well, it's your show. Do whatever you want.
I'm
This
not
is
gonna,
America.
No, I'm not going to tell all the details, but let's just say we were in Whitehorse in the Yukon, and we were enjoying some live music, and the place was packed, and we just got there. Like, we were so excited to be in the Yukon for the first time. We were so excited to be at this bar, and I was having this discussion with a woman who happened to be somebody that was on stage earlier, and I was like, this is great. You know, like, what's going on? She's like, oh, I played earlier, and we started talking about radio. No, it's just having a great time, and then she's like, starts talking politics. And I said, I don't want to talk politics. Now, don't get me wrong. I am somebody that doesn't hate talking politics sometimes in a friendly way off air.
I love it.
I think there's a time and a place for it. I think it's sometimes an important conversation. And then at many, many, many other times, it's important not to talk politics. And this is one of those situations where I was just having a good time. I didn't want to talk politics with anybody, especially if they disagreed with my viewpoints on politics. And I said, you know what, let's just enjoy the night. And she starts talking about America and the political scene in America. And I said, I don't want to talk about it. She's like, oh, yep. If you believe that, I can't hang out with you. And I said, here's the difference. Here's the difference. You may believe differently than me. I can still hang out with you. Let's just hang out and have a good time. And she said, nope, I can't hang out with you, and turned around and walked away. And I'll leave out all the other details.
Is that all that?
No,
Is that all she
there
did?
was way more, but we're not going to get into it here.
We need a new podcast that our parents don't listen to.
The crux of the conversation was because I disagreed with her on politics, she couldn't even just talk to me or sit down and enjoy live music in a beautiful place of the planet and look past some of the small things in life that people argue about now, and it's so dumb. It drives me crazy. So let's move on.
Positivity.
Yeah, let's talk about you know, and maybe this isn't
Oh, boy.
any better, but I wanted to ask you what your thoughts on the co-angler situation right now, because that has seen there's been a change in the way people view co's, and live scope as, you know, forward-facing sonar maybe has had a hand in some of that. But what do you think the future looks like for co-anglers out there?
You know, I guess what I see is a group of co's, and they're showing up, and I look at my day, and granted, I had a couple unbelievable days on Green Bay, but the amount of fun we're having in the boat, and almost all the co's are there. They're there to have fun and learn. And I don't see any co showing up and being like, well, this is bogus. I don't know why we're doing it this way, and why am I even here? There's only the people that aren't co's and don't want to be a co that are out on the internet just trashing what they're doing. It's like, who cares if that's what they want to do? You know, I understand that a lot of the time. It's a one person job. I mean, even when I fish tournaments with Chuck and Brock, we're not sitting up there casting at each other's fish. You know, we don't do that. For one, we don't personally, we don't want two baits coming at a fish. So if one person gets going, you're just tending them and helping them out, you know, and I'm perfectly fine being that person. If Chuck's on or Brock's on or Nate's on, whoever I'm fishing with, I am doing whatever I can to win. It's a team effort, really. I mean, we're both there for the same, common goal. I don't see the problem with it. Like I said, it's just a bunch of people that are not doing it, that are I don't know, on the bandwagon of kind of banging on these co's for doing what they want to do. And what I've witnessed is that they all love it. And so what does it matter?
You've been a part of tournaments for a long time, AIM, NWT, Grand Rapids tournament, etc. If you were going to put on a walleye tournament, is there anything you would do differently?
I guess I could say what I would love to do, what I'd like to fish, and there's been some formats, pretty close to this. Is maybe it's just one person in the boat. I don't know what that looks like, if it's like like major league style, where the fish are getting weighed right there, got a weigh master. Now, one thing, it's been a while since I've weighed fish, so the one I've been thinking this through, it's not the easiest thing to lock a weight in on a scale when you're in 6-7 foot waves. So that makes it kind of tough. I do enjoy catch photo release. I have enjoyed the heck out of NWT this year of bringing fish in and just seeing fish in the live well. That's super awesome. But do I think there's maybe another way to do it without carrying them around? I mean, I'd like to think so, and I wish we could figure that out.
Has to be.
It's just the best way, and I want to be careful of how I want to say it, but the best way to do this stuff is get those fish back in the water immediately, right? I mean, if we can do that, if we can keep doing that some way, plus, get the enjoyment of the audience, that's kind of the way I see things should be going forward. But I don't know. I don't really know how to accomplish that, or
that's something that that's something that Dan and I talk about all the time, because to me, I think the future is, catch, record, release tournament, like the AIM format. I know that's the way the Grand Rapids tournament does it. And Dan always brings up the fact that it's fun to watch them lift those big fish up on stage.
My problem is I haven't seen an exciting weigh-in at a catch, record, release. I just haven't. Bottom line.
That's the problem.
Yeah, and Graha does a good job. National Walleye Shootout now does a great job with that, and that's just a little, and again, my opinion, that's just a small tournament, that was put together by anglers and helping out, and a couple of, the past few years, some really passionate people, and my wife was the director for a little while for it, and I realized what goes into a tournament like that. The behind the scenes stuff, probably a whole nother episode and conversation. Right. But anyway,
it's a lot.
They do a great job there. They got a big screen. It projects onto a giant screen. You see those fish in real time, or all the pictures of the fish throughout the day. And what I'm getting at is a small budget there. A small, hometown tournament. I just feel like nowadays, 2026, with all the technology and everything we have, we got to be able to shoot some sort of fireworks off and have a big screen and be like, quality pictures and be able to create some sort of excitement that way. Because Graha, and I believe that's one of the reasons why the weigh-in is very exciting and it's not just, this is the weight they got. Every one of the top 10 people, you see their fish, them holding it, and the excitement of when they got it, or maybe they're not excitement or trying to hide the background or whatever it may be, but there's a way of doing it. I don't know. I'm probably not the person to figure that kind of stuff out, but there's got to be somebody smarter than me out there that can make some fireworks happen.
Well, I think pictures can make a big deal if you've got a big backdrop or a screen behind you, and you could say, coming in with 5 fish with a big being 9.5 pounds, 31 inches, whatever the case may be, and throw that picture up there. I think and Denny Fox does a good job. I think emceeing. He could probably build some excitement and make the crowd. I think so much of that weigh-in depends on how many people are in attendance, like how important that weigh-in, the stage presence needs to be, and then if you're live streaming it, or if you're trying to do a TV show. Like, I've been to some weigh-ins where there's 6 people in the crowd, and it's like, these fish could have been released and nobody would have known any different, right? Like, it doesn't, like, sometimes I don't think the weigh-ins matter. Like, the spectacle matters, and putting the picture on Facebook is cool. And, like, I've been on stage for a couple of weigh-ins in a couple of the small tournaments I've done, and it was cool to be like, hey, I was on stage for a weigh-in. That's pretty neat. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, if we really care about what's going on with these resources and these fisheries, let's just get the fish back in the water and figure it out. There's got to be a way with the technology we have to figure it out.
I agree, man, and I also agree. It has been. I've done MWC a good handful of times on cast, so it's like the one time a year where it's old school. We get to go back to finding unders and overs, and we have them in the live well. And I can tell you that I don't know of a better feeling of having a 12-pound walleye in the live well, and you crack it open and take a little peek every once in a while. It is really tough to beat that feeling. Chuck and I had one on National Team Championship on Oahu one time. I can't remember the exact weight. It was, I think, almost a teener. But you opened it up, and like the first thing you seen was like a human eyeball. The fish was so big. It was just wild, and then you get a few good ones in there, and you just can't help but, when you kind of stop and take a moment, you crack that lid open and look at the weight you got in there. When you're doing well, it's just like, there is something about that. So I do get the nostalgia or whatever behind the live fish, and it is cool, but I believe that's where it's going, and I gotta think that eventually that's where we'll be, is trying to get these fish in quicker.
I get that though. Like, we've caught big walleyes, and it's funny, you catch a big walleye, and Dan and I always have a camera in the boat, so we're usually filming it, maybe taking a picture, and then you're putting it back, and I'll go back and I'll look at the photo, and I'll be like, man, I didn't even notice. I never noticed that mark on the fish, or I didn't look at the other side. Like, I picked it up and held it for the picture. I put it back. I never even looked at the other side of the fish, and I could see, like, just having a little bit more time just to appreciate it. But it's so, especially if you're in 6-7 footers or something like that, bounce around in a live well, like, it just can't be good for those fish. But I know everybody wants what's best for the fish and best for the fishery, for sure. So I'm sure the tournament scene will figure itself out. Let's talk NWT. You've been a part of that for a long time, haven't you?
NWT, no, I've only done NWT. Last year was my first debut tournament on Lake Sharp.
Oh, it was?
So NWT, yeah, last year was my first tournament on, like I say, Lake Sharp. It was an early one. I had planned to fish my first season about this last year. The whole team was supposed to be heading out there, and we were really thinking we could pull it off, and then life caught up to kind of all of us, at least half of us, and then the rest were like, all right, well, let's just go do this program, and we'll try again next year. So this was my first full season. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you can't always trust AI summaries on.
Oh, come on. You used AI.
Well, I Googled.
Teach you better.
I just
don't use the AI summary on Google.
Well, I definitely did more than that, but
we've seen our AI underwater camera. You can't trust it.
Well, I saw one thing where you talked about it being your rookie season, and I was like, oh, so he's only been on this is his first year, basically. And then I saw something else that said you'd fished it since the beginning, and I wasn't quite sure what to think. So in this, you can't believe, if it's on the internet, it's true, right? That's what we've learned since Al Gore invented the internet, that it's all true. Well, let's talk about this season then with the NWT. Lake Erie, you finish 82nd. How'd you feel about that tournament, and what did you think after that tournament ended?
So backing up to our first one ever, we went to Sharp, and as a team, I took third, Nate took second. I think Bricko was in like sixth. Dylan, Chuck, and Tyler were like right. I actually, Chuck, I think, cashed a check too. But anyway, we were all right there, like unbelievable start to a season. And fast forward to being like, okay, all right, we can all do it now. This is our year. Everybody's dialed in. The kids are doing these sports, but the wife's got this taken care of. The businesses are going to go good. We got employees. And we all show up at Erie. And with all these expectations all winter long, and we're finally pulling the trigger and, watching, listening to podcasts and reading everything from as far back in the archives as we can find, when we're going into this thing just thinking we're going to, come out, like the first time we fished it, we're going to be just fine. Well, that was not the case. We pretty much all just took a brutal butt kicking on Erie. We very humbling experience. Lake Erie, I know why it's named Erie, because the first time I got out, and it was wind every day, big wind and cold, and I'm looking around, I'm like, this place is Erie. I need a partner out here, Mackie, I think Mackie and I talked. We're like, how far away are you? Can we get a little closer just so we can see each other? Maybe that's like a landmark and just a little comfort zone. But yeah, that was my first time on that big of water, honestly, and I won't sugarcoat it. Day one of that tournament, I didn't know how to run those waves, and I didn't know if I could do it, and it was just flat out chickened out to get to my number one spot on day one, and I fished close and I held my head above water. The next day I shot up to where I wanted to be. I misread the water. I thought it was way too milky. I thought it all mudded up, and I thought it was too much mud, so I didn't even drop my trolling motor. I went to spot C before I even dropped a line because I had good weight there. And I met up with Nate after that. We had talked about, if we can get to that waypoint, we're going to, fish that area. He's like, where were you? I was like, I dropped in there, and I didn't like it. And he's like, well, you should have stayed because I got 36 pounds in about 45 minutes. I'm like, man, if I would have just stuck with the plan, manned up and took those waves like everybody else did and got up there day one and fished it, I probably would have had this is all hindsight, of course, but probably would have had a great bag, dropped in, fished the next day, and even if I didn't win our top 10, I would have been in much better standings than 82nd. So a lot of wind out of the sail after that first tournament for all of us, really. It was kind of a situation is like, where do we go from here? I mean, This is early. We still pivot if we need to. Should we jump into another circuit? So it was tough. It's really tough because you have options nowadays, but stuck with it, man, and just ground it out.
Well, before we get into the rest of the season, because it's worked out pretty well for you here at the end of the season, let's just talk about that for a second, because I hate fishing in heavy winds. And I'm not a tournament guy, so if I look out the window and it's blowing pretty good, I'm staying home that day. I don't have to force myself to go out and fish. And a lot of times when we go out and do these filming trips, we try to do them long enough so we can pick our days out there, because when you're, especially if you're trying to sit up in the bow and pitch at fish or scope fish, man, that's tough when you're bouncing up and down up there, not just to be able to see the fish on your electronics, but to be able to put your bait in front of those fish and control that bait the way you want to control it. It's a lot of work. So I will give those tournament guys, I will give you guys a lot of credit when you're out there just getting destroyed by the weather and still putting big fish in the boat. Like, that's a credit to the skills that you guys have out there. It's not fun in those big waves, man.
No, it's not. I explained that, and there's only a handful of people, people that really understand everything that goes on with a tournament angler. If you really go after it hard, oh man, must be nice. You're leaving for another fishing tournament. You're going to be gone a week. I was like, remember when you were going to go fishing that one day and you woke up and you looked outside and it was a little bit misting and it was blowing like 10 miles an hour, and you just pulled the covers back up and said, you know what, I'll just wait till. There isn't that for us,
Can't
because
do it.
All of us guys are just so hardcore, and you're there to work. You're away from your family. You're away from, the people taking care of you at work, your employees, whatever that may be, or time off, so you're losing money there, however you want to look at it. So when we show up, there is no relaxed time for us, and my team anyways that I travel with. It's very rare. We always talk about it. You could even look at some of our waypoints, and I think there's a couple on Winnie that say tea time, because we always joke about, well, if we figure it out, we'll all go golfing and have a good time. But the way our team works, we'll get to that point and we could have it, pretty dialed in, but we can't resist. We got to go out, and even if we think we're going to blow it up, we're still out there every single minute we can possibly be out there. So it's a tough deal. This season, everywhere we went, it was just until Green Bay was nice, but when we can get there. But Erie was nasty. Hawaii, you're picking ice off, and it's just cold and gross.
Before we get into Oahe and Badenoch, you mentioned some names. You talked about your team. Tell me about these guys. And I mean, you fish the aim with these guys too, right? Talk about who your team is.
Yeah, so the team I traveled with we were trying to do the math the other day. I think it's solid 8 years now. It's in that, and it was almost it was mostly all aim besides some jump, Graha and MWC here and there, but it's was Chuck Hassey and I, Dylan Mackey and Joe Bricko, Tyler Wolden and Nate Linegar. So we had been traveling, like I said, for 8 years, and I've been fishing tournaments a long time and had some success, here and there, and things were great. But once we linked up, all like-minded individuals who are just hardcore fish-minded people. Yeah, I mean, we've had some great times and have been very fortunate. Have had great success, and having a team like that, I can't imagine. I talk about a couple of things that advanced fishing for me hugely. Of course, live scope being what I've learned about walleyes could never be matched in 100 lifetimes. What I've learned from those guys, just because you show up at a lake, and a lot of times, when I first started, it was just me and Brock. Brock Anderson's my partner for Graha, always has been, and we started together way back in the day. We'd show up, and we didn't have a team. We didn't even really know what that was back then. And once you figure it out, when we had that team of 6 and we're all 6 bringing our boats, you show up and it's like super organized. I mean, as organized as a bunch of goons like us can be, we try to keep it as organized as we can, but you got 6 boats. I mean, and we're super aggressive. It's like, is breaking down water for us is, it's dialed in. If the waypoints are shared, as soon as we can share them, and at night, everything is hatched out before we get too crazy into dinner and cocktails or whatever it may be. We're trying to get everything figured out, and it's that conversation goes right up until bedtime, and sometimes it's way too late. But it's been a ride with those guys, and I've only known, I've known Chuck for a little longer because Chuck and I went to school at University of Minnesota Crookston together. That's where we first met, and then had some time. We didn't really see each other much, and then linked back up for tournaments. But I've only really known all them guys 8 years, but I honestly, it's weird. It's kind of one of those deals where it's like, I don't even remember a time without them. They're definitely my best buddies now. They're not just business partners. We try to stay in touch, and I don't know what that looks like for sure next year. I mean, there's so many circuits and way things are going to go, but yeah, those guys have taught me more than, hopefully they've got a few tips from me here and there too to repay them. But yeah, it's been fun. And yeah, those guys are hammers. I mean, they are as good as they get. And if you can sit in, I would love to film a couple times of just breaking down water, because it gets so intense of just details. Details is kind of what we're always into, and because everybody's unbelievable now,
Yeah.
Figuring out those small details and how fast it happens with 6 guys versus 1, 2, or 3 guys. It's just amazing to watch it unfold, and it's super fun when it starts to click. Whenever you see those waypoints start to come in, all right, I better enter a few of these. It's like, oh wow! When you zoom way out, you're like, okay, I see what's happening here now. I'm gonna go check all of these. These look pretty similar. And why don't you go check these? These look similar. And then there's this kind of program going on. Why don't you guys check these and see if they're a little bit hotter in any other areas? So, yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah, 8 years has been going on with those guys, and it's a lot.
It makes sense to have a team like that. I mean, you look at NASCAR and you got teams of drivers, and I mean, you watch tour level gold, and you see the guys that work together that are on that. I mean, it makes sense. So, and you don't have to go into any of the fine details, but as a team, say you win Green Bay. I mean, are you sharing with it? Does a team all celebrate together? Do you feel like you won as a team then at that point?
Absolutely. That's what makes it. We all have skin in the game, for whatever that looks like. We don't just go into it. It's everybody benefits when one person wins. So I can tell you that when that bell rings at 8 or whatever time we're starting, there's not anybody on the water I probably want to beat more than my guys, because they have every bit of information that I have, and I truly believe they're the best in every tournament that I'm in. So if I know that I'm beating them, I know I'm probably going to be up there in the standings. But at the end of the day, when it's all over, I mean, that's another thing is, that's how we stay as transparent as we are. I mean, we don't hold nothing back. I mean, that's kind of been our motto through the whole thing is the more transparent you stay with your team, the odds are you're not going to fall into a big mess of, well, I told you this and you didn't tell me this. So we try to keep everything super transparent. Like I say, everybody's got skin in the game. Everybody comes out ahead if one person does really good, and it's really awesome when we all do good.
Let's go to the beginning of Green Bay then. You're 3 tournaments in for the season. What was your mindset going into that 4th tournament for the NWT?
I kind of clicked into a little different mindset. I think I've said this on another interview, is the whole season was just, eerie for one. I started the season off just thinking, well, I don't know what I'm doing here. I just got to get some good points. And that was kind of part of my decision making. I think that usually, I am going for broke every tournament. Doesn't matter what happens to me. I don't care about points. I don't care about anything. I'm looking at this one and I'm going for everything. And then that's kind of the way I was fishing all year, and it's just not really my style. And I had a talk with my wife before I left. And I'm like, if I find, because of talking about making the championship and this and that, and I said, I don't care in this tournament. If I find a program where I think I can go for it and win, I'll sink the ship to do it. I'm going for broke. I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna keep the fish I need that I think are gonna win. If I have it, if I don't have the program, I don't have the program. I'll milk whatever I can out to make to the championship. But that's kind of the way I went in there, and I was having a ball. Actually, like I said, it was the first tournament where the weather was cooperating and the fish bit. I got there late on like a Thursday, and I went off. I was like, well, I'll just go off the landing and putz around, and if I can find a couple of walleyes, it'd be awesome to see what their attitude's like. Maybe see what I'm going to start with for the next morning. And I don't think it was 20 minutes from my boat hitting the water, I was whooping fish. It was like every other cast, I was like, okay, this is going to be pretty fun. They weren't winning fish, but they were fish reacting to my bait and already kind of giving me some signs and some stuff to look for the next day. So, Joe and Dylan jumped in kind of last minute, and so I knew we were gonna have 2 more teammates there. Gage Backman is another. He started with us at Erie, young guy. So he's been traveling with us all year. Him and I and Tyler ends up being the only ones who fished the whole entire season this year. The other guys, work and family, whatever it may be, just, that same old story. It's so hard to put all this together. I mean, a lot of people don't know what it is to put it all together, but yeah, Dee and Joe showed up, and it was like, okay, now we got, there was 3 of us, now we got 5 of us dissecting this thing. That's huge. And it just started falling together there, and I don't know if go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I remember my earliest memories of walleye fishing, putting on a jig and putting a night crawler on there, or putting on a slip bobber and putting a leech on there. And then all these other lures and products and the new hot thing came out. And then all of a sudden in recent years, it's like jig and a crawler. It seems like we've almost, like, some of the most simple techniques will still work to catch walleyes out there, no matter, how much technology, how much the new baits progress. And obviously these new baits work and things like that, but it's funny how still some of the most basic presentations can catch you big walleyes out there.
Absolutely. It's like everything came full circle. We talk about that a lot. There's nothing more that brings out the kid in you, and just old memories of watching a bobber sink. And it, to be honest, like I would say, if that wasn't 60% of my program in the past 3 years, probably 70%. It just, bobbers just work. They work everywhere too. There's not a place that I know where they really don't. They're not going to be part of a program, or at least try it, and you catch some. Maybe it's not the right stuff, or fast enough, or slow enough, or whatever it may be. But yeah, it's kind of crazy how things came back full circle. And that's what I loved about that first day, is I just went out with a jig and a crawler and a jig wrap. My main 1-2 punch starting out anywhere pretty much is a number 7 jig wrap and a jig and a crawler, and just start looking at fish and then moving on from there. And I never did move on from there. I did try some bobber stuff later in the tournament to see if I could turn some big fish that I knew were megas that were just totally negative. And I did turn a couple. And I got all excited and told all the guys, this could be a bobber thing, and we're going to win everything. And then it just fell apart. but the jig and crawler and the J-Wrap were just in my hand the whole time, and that was it right from the beginning. Like I said, it was such a relief to go out there and be like, okay, awesome. Now I don't have to be, running around looking for tackle that I don't have. It's my 2 favorites are doing awesome already. Let's see if it continues tomorrow. And it never stopped. That was the 1-2 punch for me for pretty much the whole week.
You win with 92 pounds, 1 ounce, 5 pounds more than anybody else. You qualify for the NWT Championship on Sakakawea. Top 40 anglers. How does it feel to be a part of that?
It's amazing. Through the winter, I dreamt of it, and I realized it could happen, and I've fished against as good an angler as there is out there, and I've had some good success over the past 10 years. So over the winter, it was just, I think we can get there. I think we can all get there, and reality of it, there might be a couple problems on the way, but that Erie tournament started to set a little doubt in, but climbing back out of it from 82nd, and then a little bit more at Oahe, and a little bit more, and then going into Green Bay at 42nd, and being right on the cusp, and realizing that I've climbed out of that hole, and then realizing now that I'm a part of the top 40 anglers, and very arguably the best walleye anglers in the world. I don't really, a lot of times I'm not sure where I fit in there, but I'm ready to grind and hopefully fit in right at the top.
I read your Q&A on the NWT Facebook page, and you mentioned that you pray before each tournament, and then you imagine a crazy handshake with your brother who passed away.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear about that, first of all. When you get ready to start for the championship, what are you going to ask God, and what would you say to your brother?
Well, one thing, I guess it's just kind of my ritual, is when I start in the morning, and I mentioned on there, like I said, I find just something, and it's very easy on Oahe, it's Sakakawea, and anywhere out in North Dakota to find something that's absolutely gorgeous or out of the ordinary or unbelievable creation, of one of God's creations, and to just kind of stare at it for a while. I actually don't ask for anything. I don't ask to win. I don't ask for a great day. I don't ask I don't ask for nothing besides I just, I'm thankful for where I'm at right there, and just thankful for having the ability and that I can be there. Just getting to that point is good enough for me. And then, but yeah, my brother and I are real tight, and he's probably was as big a goofball as me, if not more. So I don't even know, we had all kinds of crazy handshakes and just, we had a ball together there. I would love for him to be able to see what's going on now, but, and then, I've lost other buddies and everything too. There's a lot of times where I, just envision they're all, cheering, and it's just kind of a running start, like going onto a football field. You know, I just love this stuff, and I'm just happy that I can actually be there. So good enough for me. Like I said the other day, I'm going to Sakakawea. Good chance I'm waking up with a smile on my face. I'm not going to lie. The wind's going to blow, and there'll be times where I have a few choice words, and I do get mad still. I'm not just flying out there, you know, hippie style, loving it. You know, I will get angry at one point in time, honestly, but I absolutely love it out there. So yeah, man, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to grind, and there's not a doubt in my mind that I'll be leaving it all on the table.
Yeah, man, it's one of those things where you just have to appreciate the moment too, and obviously you go out there to win, but just be thankful that you're there, and you're going to be in a Lund Pro V Glass. You've been running that. You did win a couple of new boats this year. You're selling those boats. What are you on a new boat each year program, or what do you like about that Lund that you're running?
I've always been a Lund guy. Really honestly, the biggest thing for me is that there's all kinds of great boats, right? But Hernusman Boat Group, they've always been so great to me at Ray Sport Marine. I mean, you know, Sean Coulter and Dave Hernusman, you know, right from the beginning, they kind of, you know, Sean really helped me with when I started guiding, and Dave and him were always partners. So Brock and I were always chasing them to try to always, you know, could you imagine if we beat them and this and that, you know? And so Ernestman's always been around, and he's just been always great to me. He's like, hey, and they were kind of helped us get signed up in a lot of tournaments when we were real young. So I just love being at Ray Sport Marine. The boat is just a bonus. I mean, I love the boat. I mean, the thing is a rocket ship. There's not a whole lot of them out there that can beat me if the water's right. I mean, I'm not a great driver. I ain't going to tell you I know how to drive better than all these pros out there, and they've been in a million different styles of waves than I have. But if you can give me the perfect ripple, there's not a ton of them out there that'll beat that 219 with the 400 and that V10. It rips. So that is really cool. I never dreamed I would go 70 miles an hour in my own. That's for sure.
I remember first. I remember a couple of times I've gone. You know, my boat goes. I think I've got up to 48 or 49, and I've got a new Impact, Lund Impact 1875 this year with a 150 on it, and it rips pretty good. But I've gone 70 a couple of times. Remember, Dan, when we were in Alabama and we were doing 70, and it was like 2 feet of water.
It's such a good feeling.
Like, okay.
Some people think you don't need to go that fast, but there's something fun about that wind in your face and just ripping across the lake. It's almost more fun than fishing some days. You just want to drive your boat.
Well, I just like having the windshield to be behind. We didn't have the windshield to be behind when we were doing that.
No,
I like being behind the glass.
That was a bass rigger, yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to be, you know, we were running new Lunds this year. Dan's in the Pro Guide, I'm in the Impact. And what a difference it makes when you have the right boat for the way you want to fish, and having, you know, it comes the right rod, the right reel, the right tackle. Man, the boat, like having the right boat for the way you want to fish on the body of waters you want to fish, what a difference that makes.
100%. I ran Pro Guide for, I mean, most of my career, guiding and everything. I'm a recent windshield guy, you know. I guess I would be a trader. I was the old school, you know, tiller till I die, tiller life, you know. I thought, and then you start to get a little older and a little older. There you go. Nice. Then you start having back problems, and then you get sick of being cold, and you get behind one windshield, and it's like, this is what everybody's talking about.
Yeah. Well, they both have their place, you know. Like I didn't have a big boat, but I've had a 16-foot with a 25 horse tiller for a long time, and all of our boats in Saskatchewan that we've been in have been 16-foot with 25 horse tillers, and you get used to, you know, back trolling or trolling with a tiller. You know, like I loved fishing like this. I don't know if I can get in the camera.
Great description for radio.
Hand on the tiller handle, hand on the rod. Doing that, like I did that for years. I enjoyed it, but man, I'm getting a little bit older too, and the windshield and the steering wheel. I love it.
Well, and it's so different now that not everyone, but a lot of guys, like, you don't have to Lindy rig to catch a walleye. You can be up front on the trolling motor, so you don't need the stick in your hand. You're up front. You know, the biggest thing for me is wanting a front deck, and I just love the space that it gives me, and driving a 1/4-ton pickup. What a better boat. I mean, the 18-foot Pro Guide's perfect because you get all the space you need, and I can pull it with my boat. But we're going to upgrade the truck this year, and we might have to upgrade the boat next year.
Might go to a 20-footer.
Might go to a 20-footer. Yeah, the windshield's intriguing, but I don't know. It's hard to go wrong. It really is. But man, I don't know. Something cool about the stick.
Yeah, the jump is scary. I mean, I never thought. I mean, you're right. The style of fishing is what really changed my mind mostly. Like, I feel like there was many days that back in the day we cashed a check because we had a tiller. Back in the day when it was nasty and rough before these crazy new bow mounts that they have now and the lithium batteries, you know, running amp batteries now is just wild to me. Like, I can't believe how long you can last on them. But before it was like, all right, so that was part of our program. I remember Chuck and I talking about it. It's like, well, pretty much by 10 o'clock tomorrow, because it's going to blow 35, we are going to be only battling tiller people because all the batteries are going to be gone by 10, 11 o'clock. So it was part of, back in the day, it was like, but now it's just wild. Technology has advanced us, and I fish off the bow. I mean, that's what I do. So I guess my final decision was, why not be comfortable?
Yeah. It's so many things have changed, and I don't know. I think it's fun, and we don't need to get into a live scope debate or forward-facing sonar debate, but the amount of fish behavior that we've learned using forward-facing sonar to me is amazing. And I'll always tell people, like, we'll film videos and I'll be out there chasing a fish around for a while, and I'll say, if I'd spent the last hour trolling through here, I probably would have caught 5 times as many fish as I did trying to chase this one dang walleye around for a while, trying to catch the stupid thing. So when you have the argument about what's having a bigger impact in the fisheries, is live scoping really having that bigger impact? Maybe you're catching bigger fish, but it's probably fewer. Maybe you're not culling as many. Maybe if you're long lining or lead coring or trolling through deeper water, maybe you're catching and releasing more fish and doing more damage. So it's an interesting world that we live in right now when it comes to technology and the impact on the fisheries. And before we cut you loose, I know we've gone longer than we planned today, so I appreciate everybody sticking with us with this interview, and I appreciate you staying on with us here. I want to ask you one last thing here as we get to the end of August here. Got a there's something happening, some fishing thing that you're a part of before before the end of August here. Are you looking forward to this championship, or the transition to fall and the time to climb up into a tree?
That's a scary question. What's going on right now, and it always scares me, and it irritates Chuck back when him and I fished MWC, and he would put on groups. He would tell everybody, is like, all right, save your trail camera pictures and your conversation until after the cast tournament. And that's kind of what's going on right now. Good buddy and actually relative of mine that's out in Indiana came up ice fishing, and he's sending me some big bucks on camera. That's just like, okay. And then, of course, my phone, it knows what's going on. So now everything is starting to sliding over to trail cam pics and hunts and book this here and outfitters. And I'm just like, I text my buddy Josh. It's like, I just need a couple more weeks. I don't want to see any more pictures. I don't want to talk about this stuff, and I really want to, but I need 3 more weeks, and I'm flipping over. I don't think I'm going to do another tournament. I maybe I'll get talked into it, but I'm ready to hunt big time. And I don't have a ton lined up this year. I got a point in Kansas. I think I might go do some public land maybe in Wisconsin or something, but yeah, I'm really excited for that. I really got to focus on the task at hand here, because I'm on the best run that I probably will ever have in my life. And if I could put the icing on the cake here and end up in that top 10 through day 3, top 10, I can't imagine ever being in a better season than this. So I don't want to get too sidetracked because my mind isn't capable of too many things. I just got to worry about catching walleyes for now. But that's just gonna happen. I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna see a big muley or something right off the bat, or a whitetail, and I'll be like, oh boy, here I go.
You got to let it ride, man. You got to go with it. And the bucks will be there. There'll be more next year, if nothing else. I mean, I always, especially as we get older, I hate seeing a hunting season come to an end, particularly as you get older, because, sometimes some of those harder hunts become even harder each year. Some of the colder days, or if you're stalking, some of the walks through the big hills or the mountains, or some of the tall grass and things like that. It gets a little bit tougher, but man, the season you're having, unreal. What a great ride, and enjoy it while it lasts, and keep it going. And that's a beauty, especially if you're a bow hunter. There's plenty of time. I'll climb up right away for opener, and I'll get excited a little bit about September bow hunting, but really I end up usually killing my deer in December or late November anyway. So lots of time to think about those whitetails out there. And we joke all the time around here that I probably hunt more than I fish, and Dan probably fishes more than he hunts, but they're honestly pretty close. We both do quite a bit of both, and now that we have these new Lunds, I'm looking forward to fall fishing quite a bit, and it's going to cut into some of my hunting, and I'm not sure how I feel about it.
It's tough because we're trying to move these boats too, but I don't want to sell mine too early because I want to keep fishing. September gets so good, and hunting historically now, we bird hunt so much that September hunting where we're at is just tough. It's tough, It's like, man, just keep fishing for a little bit and hunt when it gets good. But at the same time, it's hunting season. You don't want to waste it away because you only get a few months, and you can fish all year. We get fishing all year. As much as I gripe about ice fishing, we can still get a little tug then. So enjoy the hunting while we can, but it's exactly right. There's a tournament in Saskatchewan. We've had buddies try to talk us into
the Vanity.
Yeah, the Vanity, and we've been up there snow goose hunting not too far away, and we always want to jump into it, but it's like, well, I know we're going to see snow geese fly over our heads when we're pre-fishing, and we're going to put the boat on the trailer, go grab our decoy trailer and go hunt, and then just waste $1,000 of a tournament entry because we won't put in the time.
You got to do one or the other.
It's a tough battle because it's a great time of year, but there's too much to do.
I joked the other day and said, I'm kind of like Happy Gilmore. I'm a hunter. I'm not a fisherman. I'm just here to try to do my best to raise money to hunt.
Perfect. I know we've been talking about some of these other lakes, but we need to go take a quick peek before we let you go here, Randy. Take a quick peek at a live look at the Rainy River and the Migration Highway. Let's go underwater here and see what it looks like. Oh, look at all those walleyes.
Lake of the words.
Lake of the words. Oh my gosh.
This isn't AI. This is real. This is filmed with a GoPro.
AI.
Yeah.
It's not quite there yet, but there
tons of fish ready to be caught though.
August is great for walleyes at Lake of the Words.
Word to your mother.
If you want to go fish the Migration Highway, there are, despite AI's inadequacies, there are lots of walleyes and sturgeon up at the Rainy River and Lake of the Woods. And if you want to get a trip up there, August is really good for it, or maybe get a fall trip planned when things really start to get even better in the rainy. You can go to riverbendresort.com, get yourself some lodging, some guided trips, or do it yourself as well too. All right, Randy, we'll cut you loose here, man, but I really appreciate coming on. I know you're busy right now between traveling and doing other podcasts and getting ready for a giant tournament on Sakakawea. Good luck over there. Be safe. And yeah, man, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Glad we can make it work.
If you want to catch a big walleye, go where the big walleyes are. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world, with a variety of resorts and lodging facilities offering full-service fishing. Lake of the Woods is also home to sturgeon, sauger, perch, trophy pike, muskie, smallmouth bass, burbot, and more. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods today. Go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com. That's lakeofthewoodsmn.com. It's time now for the Minfish Minute. Keeping Minnesota a great place to fish. The Minnesota walleye stamp is voluntary. That's been discussed quite a bit for different things, 2 lines, all of that stuff. Is there any changes to the way the walleye stamp works that Min Fish recommends, or is it just good the way it is right now?
The walleye stamp is a voluntary program, just as you articulated. The piece that's a little less known is that that's a dedicated fund over there, a dedicated account. And the money from that, anybody that buys a walleye stamp must be used by the DNR, by the state, to go out and purchase walleyes that are raised in the private sector. So it's a program that's been thought through, I guess, from just something that sounds good to what's the real financial mechanics behind it that ensures the money going there. Definitely sell not enough. Just came up with my own term or whatever. Catch and replace fishing. If you're going to catch a fish, buy a stamp or do something that can put back into the resource, something like that. And the walleye stamp is a good program, so I don't see us making changes to it. Some way in which to sell more of them, we're looking at some of those ideas. But the structure of it, it's one of the better products the state has.
That was the Min Fish Minute. Become a member today. Go to mn-fish.com to learn more. I know people don't like spending more money on licenses or things like that, but when you look at the federal duck stamp program in the United States, it's one of the best federal programs that we have out there. Money going to buy habitat, things like that. And when you look at some of the stamps that the state of Minnesota has, don't look at it as an additional cost to go out and enjoy the outdoors in Minnesota. Think of it as a way of helping the outdoors in Minnesota. And Joe Henry joins us now from Lake of the Woods Tourism. Joe, the stamps... And honestly, it's kind of nice that they're voluntary, but I buy them all.
You know, it's I think to your point, it's an investment, isn't it? It's an investment in walleyes. It's good to know that you're buying walleyes. I mean, that's a dedicated fund, as Gary said. And, I think it just feels a little bit better when you're investing in something, you know, that you're actually buying walleyes. It's not going to administrative or some kind of cause that maybe you don't necessarily agree with. But, you know, whenever we're buying walleyes, it's a good thing. Thankfully, at Lake of the Woods, we don't have to buy walleyes.
Yeah, there's 1 or 2 walleyes up there already.
There are a lot of walleyes up there. I'll tell you, I was just up and oh man, yeah, it's you know, sometimes we talk about in the summer when those fish get over that big basin, Big Traverse Bay, that deep mud, Brett. I'll tell you, you know, it almost seems like it's simulation mode on your graph because of all the fish down there, and also some of the size of the fish. I mean, good gravy. We were in one area where there were some tournament anglers pre-fishing that Warrior David A. Anderson Memorial Fishing Walleye Shootout, they call it, fishing tournament. And my goodness, there are some big marks on the screen. We didn't catch them when we went through them, but it was late afternoon, and I'm sure the prime time maybe was over. We tried for them just for a short time, but my goodness, and that screen looked good. There's a lot of fish in Lake of the Woods, let me tell you.
Were you seeing them suspended, or were they down on the bottom?
Both. So I was fishing last week. I shot a TV show with John Thielen of Destination Fish, and what we did, there's fish out over that big open water called Big Traverse Bay, which is the big basin across that south shore, and it goes all the way up to Garden Island. But we decided to go up. We had a couple of spots we wanted to try up in the northwest angle. It was a really nice day, so we went out to the south shore and just went across the lake. I think 26 miles. Nice boat ride. It was fun, and we got up to a couple of spots. And the first spot we tried was 12 to 14 feet of water, and we pulled spinners, and we got fish. We'd catch, you know, a couple fish every pass, missed a few fish, caught some small ones, caught a jumbo perch, caught a couple of overs, which on Lake of the Woods at 19 and a half to 28 inches, of course, that's a slide. You got to let that one go. We got a couple of 21s. They weren't huge. They weren't like 27s, you know, but no, we caught a lot of fish. So we only needed one spot. We got a really nice show filmed, and by pulling spinners, and a lot of good tips and tricks within that show. We decided on the way back to stop in the deeper water out in that basin in a spot where we thought there were some, you know, big fish, and they were there. Now you could see them on the graph, and there were some boats around, and we didn't get one that day. We just fished for probably an hour or so for the big fish, but boy, they're on the screen. I mean, you can see them. And some were suspended, Brett, to your point. Some were down 10 feet, some were down 15, 20 feet. We're in about 32, 33 feet of water. But there were some just freaking tanks right on the bottom, and we were pulling spinners through, and we thought maybe we'd pop one. Sometimes we do, but this time we didn't, which is fine. I'll tell you, it was interesting. We were, John used to work with Lindy, Little Joe Tackle, and so he's still pretty loyal to that brand. We were pulling Lindy Little Joe spinners and Snell spinners with crawlers. And I tell you, there was a color that was really hot, and it was gold with chartreuse. And
gold?
I'll tell you what, that was the color, and it was good. It was really good. We also, we tried, gold. Yeah, surprise. I know.
Never heard of
gold
such
with
a thing.
chartreuse. That's the kicker. A lot of times I would pull it with red, maybe plain, maybe I'd pull it with pink. I love gold and pink. I'd like the woods.
Something
but
bright.
This given day, chartreuse was gold and chartreuse was definitely the ticket.
Interesting. So we talk about spinners on Lake of the Woods quite a bit. We talk about jigging with shiners, frozen shiners. We talk about pulling cranks. What is a way, Joe, if you were to go up to Lake of the Woods, you do that once in a while. If you were to go up there and anything you've ever used to catch a walleye and you just left it at home and said, I want to try something completely different, something I've never tried before, what would you grab? What would you take up there to try to catch a walleye that you have high confidence in that you've never used before?
That I have high confidence in?
Well, that you think that you would have high confidence in. Yeah.
Well, if I was going to go up and just experiment and goof off and whatever, I'd probably go up and do some live scoping. And I would probably, instead of pitching a traditional jig at them or a jig and a crawler, I'd probably throw, maybe a jig and wrap. Maybe I'd throw a rattle trap. Maybe I'd throw, what's that new Berkeley finisher? I'd maybe throw a finisher. Some of those lures that are not jigs, but more of the suspended crankbaits that and I would play with those just because I personally don't have a ton of experience with them. That's what I would do. Do I have a lot of confidence with them? Well, no, I don't, because I don't use them very much. But, right. But I do.
Maybe that was a poor choice of words. I guess. What do you think what would you think might work up there that you haven't used before? I guess is a better way.
The finisher, from what I've heard, is deadly up there.
I could see that.
I've heard the same thing, Danny, and that's why I got some in my box. And you know what? What do I think would work really, really good that I never use? I don't know. It's kind of an oxymoron question because if it works really good, I probably use it. So,
well, it's one of those.
Because I do jig and I do pull spinners and I do pull cranks and I do all of those things. I find myself, especially with forward facing now, if I'm going to play around a little bit, instead of pulling big cranks or doing something like maybe I would have done with my experimenting and things, now maybe I'll do some forward facing and do some different things that way. That's kind of eating up my experimental time personally. But there's just so many ways to catch them up there, you guys. And you know this. You guys were up there recently, and
it's such a target-rich environment. It's one of those things like when Dan and I go film somewhere and we know the fishing is going to be really good. It's like, all right, what can we tie on that's going to be a little bit different, might be kind of interesting to watch, that's going to work really well. So, Lake of the Woods, the fishing can be so good up there. It's kind of nice to experiment.
It's a great place to go build confidence in a lure that you've been wanting to try. It's been sitting in your box and you've seen someone say, oh, this works great. But you just, I don't know. Right. But you go up there and it's a great way to build confidence in the finisher or whatever it might be.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it is. One thing I'll say is that there's a few techniques that I've noticed over the years that surprised me that really works. And like when the National Walleye Tour was up there a number of years ago, I remember, that's back when they don't do catch and release, they do keep. So the slot limit is in play. That means at 19.5 to 20, you got to throw back. You can only keep one over 28 per person. That means that a 19-inch walleye still really matters, right? Because it's just under that slot and you can keep it. So there were anglers that were up in the northwest angle against some of these islands, pitching jigs into about 3 feet of water in the middle of the day, catching 50 walleyes a day.
Jeez.
Now that kind of blew me away. I remember Mark Brumba. Mark Brumba is from Ohio. He's a really good angler, good troller. And I remember doing some filming with one of the local TV stations up there. I took them out in my boat so they could film some of the tournament just to get a news piece. And Mark was trolling over a reef near Arneson's, and he was using a big lipped crankbait, and he was just hammering that thing into the rocks as he's going across that reef, just hitting those rocks hard with that big bill, And I thought, I've heard of that, but boy, I had to see it done like that. He was really aggressive, and he was catching fish. Mm-hmm. So just different things like that, nuances to what we already do. I think that's kind of cool. I'll tell you right now, the two techniques, if you want to go up there and catch a bunch of fish, pulling spinners and pulling cranks are the two. You're covering water. You're putting your lures through a lot of fish, whether it's a spinner or a crank. You're putting it through a lot of fish. With the spinners, you got flash, color. You got the vibration that plays with that walleye's lateral line. You got the smell of the crawler, and of course the action. It's deadly. You got the crankbaits. Crankbait emulates an injured baitfish. So when you pull that injured baitfish in front of enough walleyes, there's some that even if they don't want to eat, they're going to reach out and hit it just because instinctively it's an injured baitfish going across their face and they can't help it. It's in their their genes, I guess. But all those techniques are working. And I should say too, when you pull crankbaits, trolling crankbaits doesn't have to be that hard. The kicker is on Lake of the Woods in the summer, you want to get those cranks down to where a lot of those fish are living, which would be, if you're in 34 feet of water or 33 feet of water, down about 30 feet. So if that's the case, how do you get it down there? Well, not everybody has downriggers. Not everybody uses dip sea divers or jet divers. In fact, people might not even know what that stuff is. And you don't have to. There's easy, simple, inexpensive ways to get your cranks down. In some cases, you can use a big lipped crankbait with like a super line, like a fire line or a Suffix 832 or something like that. And those super lines, of course, they're thinner diameter, so they'll let your lure go deeper. That combined with a deep diving crank can sometimes get it done. Using a snap weight will get it done. Lead core line. Some people have lead core line in the reels that way. Not everybody has that special setup though. Another one that's really easy, we've talked about it before, a 4-ounce bottom bouncer teamed up with a 6-foot piece of mono and a shallow diving crankbait. Mm-hmm. So easy, but so effective. I still know some old timers up there that swear by just using that 4-ounce bottom bouncer, lower it down so it doesn't get tangled, lower it down to the bottom, reel up 2 cranks and cover water and hang on because you're going to have your crank right down there amongst those big schools of walleyes.
There's something about being in direct contact with the bottom and being as vertical as you can be, and the shallow diving crankbait paired with that heavier weight to get down at the bottom is a pretty. It makes a lot of sense. Like you wouldn't think of doing that right away, but it makes a lot of sense.
Well, Brett, and people might say, why a shallow diving crank? Deep. Well, the reason for it is the weight is what's pulling it down. And you figure if your weight's down towards the bottom, if you use a deep diving crank, that's going to go deeper than your bottom bouncer and go into the bottom of the lake. When you use a shallow diver, it's going to be at about the same or a little bit higher than your bouncer. So it just works better when you're using that big 4-ounce weight. And people think 4 ounces, my goodness. Man, it's all relative. When you go on the ocean, they're using 10-pound weights. 4 ounces is nothing once you get used to it.
So I'm just looking at the results from the Warrior Boats tournament. Look like they didn't catch any big fish, Joe. I couldn't even finish that without laughing.
So somebody's radio cuts out. That's all they hear. They're going to believe you. So you might want to preface that.
No.
What was the winning bag? I think it was 5 fish for over 55 pounds, wasn't it?
Yeah, 55 and a quarter.
5 walleyes for over 55 pounds. So that's a 11-pound average. And, once again, just like the Minnesota tournament trail the week before. But I'll tell you what, this what a neat tournament. Warrior Boats made based out of Melrose, Minnesota. A good Minnesota company. But, they have their annual dealer tournament, and then they call it the Warrior Boats David A. Anderson Memorial Walleye Shootout up there. Each year it seems to be getting bigger. This year it was the largest ever. It was 184 Warrior Boats with teams of 2 anglers. And, it's the biggest walleye tournament in Minnesota. And, people come from many, many different states, many states away to fish this. And it's so fun to hear people who have never fished Lake of the Woods to come up and say, oh, it's so beautiful around here. Oh my gosh, do you have a fishery? Oh man, we're coming back. It's unbelievable how many big fish are out there. You just hear these comments. And I think, for people that have fished Lake of the Woods, we take a lot for granted. This is one of the premier fisheries for walleyes in the world. And people notice it when they come up. big fish were caught. Naturally, the big bags of fish caught were people live scoping, anglers live scoping and using forward-facing sonar, identifying their fish. In fact, for people that are listening, if you don't follow the tournament scene, a lot of these anglers are so good, they can tell the difference between a 25, 26-inch walleye and a 29 or 30-incher. They don't even cast at the 25s and 26s. They let them go. And they'll go after those big-headed walleyes. And that's one of the reasons they can catch, 5 11-pounders on a cart, is because they're only targeting 11-pounders or 10-pounders or whatever,
Well, I'm okay with 25s and 26s. I'm not tournament fishing though. I love the 30s, but
I'll tell you what, I was when we shot that TV show, we were catching 17s and 19s, and geez, they were nice fish, and of course they eat so good,
Yeah, perfect eaters. All right, Joe. If people want to get a trip planned to Lake of the Woods, what should they do?
You know what? Hey, check out our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Thanks for listening to the Fish Hunt Forever show. Download the Fish Hunt Forever podcast wherever you get podcasts or watch on the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. If you like today's show, please give us a 5-star review. Find past shows, articles, news about regulations, and more at fishhuntforever.com.